Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on, guys? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. Today we're looking at what is probably the... What's going on, guys? It's Filthy and I'm back with another video. I thought it's probably about time we covered the best solo build in the game. This is the Mundunugu Barrage Witch Doctor. Now, this thing is absolutely crazy for damage. It is definitely overtuned and overjuiced. I think it's cleared 143 on the EU server with under 4k paragon. It's definitely much higher than the benchmark that Blizzard wants to set, so I would expect it to be nerfed by the end of the patch cycle, so for next time round. So I'm going to play it pretty much as I can, because I do think it will get a bit of a nerf. But that said, we're going to go through it. We'll jump into Rift and explain how the mechanics work. But if you are new, welcome. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And as always, guys, a thumbs up does brighten my day. Now, looking at the set, we're going to take 5 pieces, rogue in a cube to make it up to 6 pieces, and we're going to mix in crimsons. Now, the 2-piece gives us Big Bad Voodoo, now follows us and lasts twice as long. Now, that means that when we activate this guy, he appears, we walk around, and this effective area follows us about, which is really good because the effect of this is pretty cool. So we get 15% move speed. That's really handy. It makes it much easier to avoid arcane lasers and explosions. You know, it makes your character a bit more nimble, so that is pretty good. We get 5% of our maximum life per second and 20% damage reduction because we've gone for the Ghost Trance rune. Now, this 20% damage reduction is pretty handy, and the 5% heal also is quite good. We've got another heal mechanic in the build. What it means is that we should be pretty good for sustain, so this is very important to keep us alive, and it makes us that little bit quicker, so very nice. Now, it's on a 120-second cooldown. I've got about 50% CDR, so we do have another mechanism for bringing more cooldown to us, but you need to bear in mind that with it lasting 40 seconds over 20, you've got pretty much perma uptime on this, and again, hopefully we'll show that in the Rift. 4-piece, we get 60% damage reduction for 30 seconds after we enter the Spirit Realm. Now, we're going to take Spirit Walk, obviously. This gives us 60% damage reduction, really short cooldown, which is great, and it will basically let us enter the Spirit Realm for 3 seconds because we've gone for Jaunt. Now, you could make an argument for taking other runes here, so Honoured Guest would give you more mana if you were struggling for that. You shouldn't be because we've got the Crimsons, but just in case you are, that is an option. You can also pick Severance if you're wanting to maybe drop the GRs a little and do more of a kind of speed build. You can get 100% move speed, which is very nice. And then Healing Journey, if you're doing hardcore, maybe this is a bit more of a consideration. It will give you an extra 15% life, so a bit of a heal. Oh shit, I need to heal up. But Jaunt, I think, is probably the best way to go. 3 seconds is quite a long time. It means you can go through an explosion, gobble up health globes if you want to. It means you can get out of a bad situation, and you've got quite a lot of time to reposition yourself, which is very, very nice. Now, the 6-piece is going to give us 20,000% increased damage on Spirit Barrage. That's nuts. That is a huge multiplier. We also get a percent equal to 5 times our mana regen per second. Now, I'm not gearing specifically for mana regen, I don't think you need it, but if you do get it, it is extra damage, so it's no bad thing, but you don't really need it. I probably wouldn't aggressively gear for it, but it does add to the damage. Now, Spirit Barrage is also going to be buffed by the Barber, so this is a ceremonial knife, and what it will do is instead of dealing damage directly, you basically kind of accumulate it over time. Now, when you stop casting, when you let go, it'll do 500% of the accumulated damage to all enemies in 15 yards. So 15 yards is kind of like about this area, so it's a nice big area of effect, which is pretty good. We're also going to juice it up with the Gazing Demise offhand, so this will give us a up to 150% damage increase. We also gain the Phantasm rune, with the Phantasms lasting twice as long. Now, they also increase the attack rate from the Mana 2 Spectre. Now, we're going to take Mana 2 on Spirit Barrage, so again, this is one where I've seen a few different runes applied. So the Spirit is Willing would give you extra mana regen if you're struggling for that. You can go for Phlebotomize to beef up your sustain. I probably would say you don't really need this because, again, one of the passes we've got gives us quite a lot of life, and also the Big Bad Voodoo is giving us sustain, so I don't think that is the optimal choice. But it is interesting. I think the top clear was using the Spirit is Willing, because that guy's obviously maybe struggling for a bit of mana. Maybe when you get to the Rift Guardian, just ploughing loads of Spirit Barrages in maybe. But for me, Mana 2 is what I've gone for, and it is probably the best for me. So if we just pop Spirit Barrage once, we get the Manitou, that's above us. That thing circling around there is a Phantasm, so we can have 3 of those out. So when we cast another one, that one disappears. So those things spinning around are Phantasms, and the thing above my head is the Manitou. Now the interesting thing about the Phantasms, obviously they're going to deal damage in an area of effect over 5 seconds, and the Manitou is going to give us a huge cold damage over 20 seconds. So both of them are kind of like over time effects. Now interestingly, the Phantasm is a pet, but the Manitou isn't. So the things that swirled around on the floor, they're pets. The thing above my head was not. Now, because we're going to use the Phantasms as pets, we can juice those up with more multipliers, meaning they hit really, really hard. So the Mask of Jerem will give us up to 200%, so that's pretty beastly. We're also going to take the Enforcer Gem, which again will give us another pet multiplier, so that is pretty good. Now obviously they last twice as long because of the Gazing Demise, and all in all, this build can absolutely dump out damage. Now we're not quite done with multipliers yet because we're still going to have the Ring of Emptiness, so 300% pretty huge on top of everything we've already talked about. Now this has been reworked, so we only have to cast Haunt or Locust Swarm to get this off. So we're going to go for Locust Swarm Pestilence. This is definitely the easiest way to play the build, because what will happen is once you cast it once, it'll then just kind of spread from mob to mob, and it means that everything is tagged, so everything gets that multiplier. If you're ever in any doubt, you can cast it again. Now one thing I would say is it is quite thirsty on mana. You know, with no RCR applied, it's 300, so that's about 1/3 of my mana. We don't have to cast it very often, which is good, but if you did want to swap the rune, Cloud of Insects would give you damage reduction, so you'd apply Locust Swarm to something and it would reduce the damage for 25%. Again, maybe more of a hardcore consideration. I think the build is pretty tough and tanky as it is, so I think Pestilence just makes it a bit easier. You can just concentrate on basically blowing everything up. Now also in terms of gear, and again a multiplier, it's going to be Captain Crimson's. We get extra cooldown and extra resource off the 2-piece, but the 3-piece gives us extra damage for that cooldown and extra toughness for the resource cost. So I'm a big champion of this set. It means that you can move your character up and down. More cooldown is more damage, more resource cost is more toughness. Now actually the way that I've got it, I've just basically gone cooldown everywhere. So in the helm, preferably on the shoulders, and also gloves. I'm missing it off the gloves. I'd much rather have cooldown than either int or vitality here. And again, rings would be a really nice place to get it. I've got it on one but not on the other, so yeah. Also on weapon would be good. I'm missing it. Mana per second, so that's not too bad. And also on the offhand, again, cooldown would be pretty handy. So the more you get, the more you're juicing up your damage. Now also stat wise, you can get Spirit Barrage damage on your boots and also on your helm. You can also get crit chance on your helm, so I would probably go into crit and Spirit Barrage damage on here, and yeah, again, juices up damage a bit. Now we also have the Traveller's Pledge and Compass Rose, so when we stand still like this, we get a double damage modifier, so that is pretty handy. So it means that when we move around, because of the way that this works, we get up to 50% damage reduction whilst we move, and then 100% extra damage when we stand still. So again, really good for the Rift Guardian, means we can stand still and hit him pretty hard, and if we look like we're in a bit of trouble, we can then Spirit Walk away, get our toughness up by moving about. So yeah, pretty nice. Toughness is also handled by Lacumba's Ornament, so we basically get 6% damage reduction for every Soul Harvest stack. Now we are going to take Soul Harvest on the bar. We're going to go for Languish, which is going to give us extra armor. Now because we've got the Sacred Harvester, this gives us 10 stacks of Soul Harvest rather than 5, so that's 60% damage reduction from the Lacumbas, and also we're going to get extra armor, so 10% per stack, 100% extra armor, which is pretty nice. So in terms of toughness, you can see there's quite a few layers here. You've got 60% on the set, you've got all of your resource cost reduction giving you toughness from your Crimsons, you've got your big bad Voodoo, you've got your 60% from your Lacumbas, and then obviously you've got all your kind of paragon and stuff that you're adding as well. And then in terms of damage, there's just so many multipliers. Last two legendary gems are Bane of the Trapped, again for more damage, which is nice, and then Stricken. Now I would say you do want to swap over to Stricken fairly early. It's not just about damage all the way through the Rift for me, because one thing I will find is that if the Rift Guardian does kill me and I can't get my Soul Harvest stacks back up to 10, you know, losing 60% damage, like north of GR 100, is pretty bad. So if you lose that damage reduction, you're going to be having a bad time of it. So I personally swap over to Stricken just a bit earlier, just to make that Rift Guardian fight easier. It means you're not going to drop off your Soul Harvest stacks, and it also gives you a damage boost against the boss, and also you get that stacking effect, and you're looking to dump out lots of different Spirit Barrages, and then you're going to add up this pretty quickly. So my Stricken's not ranked up very well, obviously, but it'll still do the job fairly fine. Now, just for completeness, my life pool is just under 1 million. I haven't put any paragon points into Vitality because I've got a couple of VIT rolls on the gear. You know, you can play around with this yourself. If you want to be a bit tougher, you can put some more points in, but generally you just want to be putting everything in intelligence. Again, you shouldn't really need any in extra mana. But other than that, guys, the build is fairly straightforward to play. So looking at the rest of the skills, I think we've covered all of them except for Piranhas. So Piranha Nado, this is amazing, 15% extra damage, and also we lock enemies in place with it. So again, fairly heavy on the mana cost, 250, but because we've got the Crimsons, we can cast this pretty much whenever. You know, the mana will go down, but it does come back up pretty quickly. It's never really disappearing. And other than that, I think we've covered all these skills as we've gone through it. Passives wise, Confident Ritual, you definitely want to be up in the thick of things here for this. So 25% extra damage to stuff that's close is great. The reason you want to be doing that is because Grave Injustice is going to give you 1% maximum life and mana whenever you kill something, and a whopping 1 second off every cooldown for anything that dies. Also increased by your pickup radius. So the idea is that you can get inside a group of mobs, detonate them with your Spirit Barrage, and then you're basically going to have Big Bad Voodoo up the whole way. You can reapply Piranhas whenever you want. You can reapply Locust Swarm whenever you want. You've got Spirit Walk to get yourself out of jail whenever you need to. And Soul Harvest, you'll have no problem keeping this up. So Grave Injustice, absolutely phenomenal. Spirit Vessel, in case you make a mistake or something goes wrong. Again, very handy for Rift Guardians above 100, because even with everything fully decked out, these things will hit you hard. So if you can't manage to avoid an attack, this will save you bacon quite a lot of the time. And then finally, Rush of Essence. This is how we keep our mana up. So Spirit Spells return 100 mana over 10 seconds. Obviously Spirit Barrage and Spirit Walk are both listed there, as is Soul Harvest. So, you know, pretty nice. So we'll take it for a spin, guys, on a 100, and we'll sort of see how we do. Now, I'm playing on my external keyboard, so, you know, maybe not the easiest thing for me. But the idea is you're going to rush in with Spirit Walk. You need to find realistically decent mob size to try and Soul Harvest. So that will do. Activate Big Bad Voodoo. Cheat Death's gone off, so not ideal. Needed to really get up to those 10 stacks. Apply Pestilence. And now everything should pretty much just melt, hopefully. So there we go, popped. So once you're up to 10 Soul Harvest stacks, you are pretty much away. There's not really too much worries in terms of toughness. And then you're basically just holding down Spirit Barrage, letting it go for it to kind of pop. I mean, you can just, you know, use Mana 2 to just click, 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 click. But, you know, you kind of get the balance of how long you need to hold it down for stuff to go pop. And then because the area of effect is pretty big, you can see all these areas getting detonated, which is really nice. You can also see the Pestilence jumping from kind of mob to mob, which is great, because it means you don't have to reactivate that. Obviously, if you go a little bit of time before seeing some stuff, you can just apply it again. We've got plenty of mana, no real mana problems, so you can always make sure that it's up. And obviously, you want to jump in your little ocular circles to deal even more damage whenever you can. So I tend to just basically look at my bar. If I've got the Big Bad Voodoo available, I'll just use it, because I just think you may as well. It's one less thing off your mind, and you need to kind of make sure that you've got your Spirit Soul Harvest rather up 10 stacks. Now, defensively, Spirit Walk is great, because if it looks like you're about to take damage, because you've got such high cooldown, because you've got the Grave Injustice, you can literally just Spirit Walk out of the way of pretty much anything, because it's just available so often. And it is quite a nice build to play. It is a lot of fun. It's not like a really boring push build or anything. It's not, you know, one thing I do like about it is, it's like here, you know, I've just pressed the Spirit Walk to get myself out of trouble. But what I was saying is, I do like it. There's no convention element. There's no kind of like, you've got to do everything in a set order. It's, you know, it's quite easy to get the hang of. You know, I know a lot of people haven't played too much Witch Doctor, but it's it's definitely an easy play style. So if we reapply Pestilence, you can see that this green stuff here is it jumping from mob to mob. So you just need to make sure that it's on stuff, because you want to get your extra 300% damage bonus. But I mean, I know 100 isn't kind of like anything special, but the other push guides that I've done have all been kind of at this level, and you can just see how easy it is. Now, fine, the more I play in the season, the higher my gems get, and the more paragon I get, but it's not like I've got absolutely amazing gear and 110 level augments on everything. You know, if you're a casual player and you want to get past 100, this is pretty easy. And once you get your 10 soul harvest stacks, you're just very tough. You know, even this like spear chuckers, it's not too much of a problem. You've got Piranha Nado to immobilize stuff. You've got all your different toughness buffs, and because you've got such high sustain, you know, the health does come back quite a lot. So any kind of injury that you do take, you can generally kind of brush it off with a few kills. But again, because you got the area of effect, you can easily pop 15-20 enemies all at once, and it's just nice. It is very good. And Piranha Nado is just a wonderful skill, just being able to like grab something, stun it, lock it there, and then just dump the spirit barrages on. So one thing I should say is Manitou will do some damage for us as we just move around, but obviously it's when we stop to actually apply the Phantasms that things really get wrecked. But it is good. Like, I never really bothered putting Legacy of Nightmares, Legacy of Dreams, Spirit Barrage together. Kind of playing this, I kind of wish I had done, because it is pretty good fun. So, you know, as I say, not the easiest thing in the world to play and talk unless you're really used to it, but you can see this has got an awful lot of power. Now, the only thing that you might have a little difficulty with sometimes is going to be the Rift Guardian. Again, you just need to kind of like get the Stricken in, which we have done, and then you can, because you've got quite high toughness, hopefully speaking, you're not going to get one shot by anything. So we've just gone then, so that's not ideal. Maybe forgot to apply Pestilence, but you know, you're still not indestructible in this. But again, you know, if you think how many mobs around us, all the elemental stuff that we've got going on, and we're still managing to survive, staying in the poison. You know, so if you're a skilled player at this, if you're better than me, you know, this is a very powerful build. So I do think it will get nerfed, as I said at the start of the video. Either that, or I mean, you know, dream scenario. Let's just hope everything gets buffed up to this level. That would be pretty nice. And the Spirit Walk's quite handy for picking up anything with explosions. So normally speaking, you have to kind of like wait like a you know, out the way of an explosion, but you can just pop it and run right through, which is nice. Occasionally you'll proc your cheat death if you don't time that right, but it is kind of handy. It just makes you feel quick. Like, I think I like this and I like Whirlwind, and both of those do make you feel like you're pushing with a little bit of pace instead of just like painfully slow. So same with POJ actually. I've really enjoyed the extra move speed and that. So all the push builds that I've got using on my 3 kind of accounts are pretty good. So I don't know whether to juice this up or to juice up Necro. I've probably got a few more augments I can get out, so I don't know, I'll make the decision, but definitely fun. You know, you could play this all day. I can't really see how you get bored with the with all the effects that we've got. So you need to make sure you get Pestilence on, Piranha Nado, and we're just going to hold down Spirit Barrage for a bit. Now you can stutter steps, you can hold it down and just, you know, force move to make sure you're getting your chunks off. And then if it looks like you're about to get hit, well, Spirit Barrage, not Spirit Barrage, Spirit Walk, that'll get you out of trouble. So cheat death, as you can see, is kind of useful because it just means that we you know, get through most of the boss. He squished us at the end, but so this will be a good example because this will show us that with one soul harvest stack, we're obviously going to be a lot squishier, but we should pop him. So, you know, there we go. Probably wouldn't have died if I hadn't been commentating, he says, hopefully. But yeah, as you can see, guys, very powerful build, pretty easy. You know, we've done that with quite a lot of time left, and as I say, not the greatest geared character in the world, but that's it, guys. That is the build. It is very fun. It is very strong. I would recommend getting on it before it gets changed. I don't really trust Blizzard to buff everything else, so I do think this will be nerfed, but it is fun. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, a thumbs up is greatly appreciated. I'll catch you soon for some more Season 20 content. Take it easy. Peace.